you know, what I was expecting from the series is that, you know, they were gonna have baby Selena, you know, the small Selena, when she was with Dinos, and then teenage Selena, and then the big Selena, you know, the older Selena. You know, if they do that, that would be awesome. Maybe Christian is the older Selena. Hopefully they have a teenage Selena. We'll see that part of Selena. I am hoping this is just not a half-ass series. Say it, just the button does it. We could have been having it all. Put your pride aside, we could get more out of life. Get more out of life. Get more out of life.
¿Qué tal, amigos? It is Jezzie. I'm talking a little quietly because it is like late at night and this is the only time I can do videos because everybody's asleep and it's quiet in the house. So excuse my low voice. But basically, yeah, we are just going to be talking about my opinion on the Selena series. So I'm not going to really give an overview if you guys have watched it. I'm assuming you guys have watched it since you're watching this video. So I'm just going to give my thoughts and opinions about the series. So first off, I'm going to tell you guys the good things and the things that I liked in the series. A lot of people didn't like the idea that the story was basically revolved more around AB and Abraham. Abraham and AB's point of view about, you know, running a band and having to go through the struggles that they did while being in Selena y los Dinos. But I like the idea of giving different band members some screen time and basically give their side and how they felt and the struggles that they had to go through running the band, because, you know, at the end of the day, it was Abraham and it was AB who did majority of the work, had to write the music, had to get labels, and also had to hire different band members. And then on top of that, they had to learn how to maintain money. I think it was very important to show Abraham and AB's point of view. You know, before it was Selena y los Dinos. You know, they struggled as a band, not just with Selena. I also think because Selena didn't get a lot of screen time during in season 1 as a teenager is because, for those who don't know, the Quintanillas were not involved with the series. They weren't as involved as they were in the movie. The only person who was basically involved in the series was Suzette, and she was an executive producer, so it makes sense. So the producers and the directors and the cast members, they had to rely on YouTube videos of Selena, and there isn't really a lot of YouTube videos or stories from her teenage years, and Selena isn't here to back up a lot of things that went on in her life. It kind of makes sense because there were a lot of holes in the series that, you know, didn't actually happen in real life. Abraham, before the series came out, he mentioned that there was going to be some fiction, but, you know, being a huge Selena fan and following everything that the Quintanillas did throughout their lives, there was a lot of fiction, a lot more than I thought, you know, especially surrounding with Selena and Chris's relationship, but I will talk about that later. We're on the positives right now. When it comes to the acting, I really think the actors really depicted the band members' personalities really well when it touches on like the goofy and the comedic parts of their personality. There were a lot of moments where I laughed and I could relate to them when they bonded with each other, you know, as siblings. I have siblings, so it was something I could relate to and laugh along to. I also love the costumes. The costumes were really good and they looked almost exactly like Selena's. And also the stage and how the stages were set up, it was really good as well. I really loved how the actors and actresses portrayed their characters. I think they did that really well. You know, they were teenagers, and as teenagers, they were very goofy and they were always laughing and, you know, living in the moment. while also having to deal with, you know, the different struggles with being Selena y los Dinos. And like I said before, a lot of people were like nicknaming the series Abraham the series or AB the series. But like, I feel it's essential to give their point of view and the different band members' point of view, because it wasn't just Selena, it was Selena y los Dinos at this time. If it wasn't for them and their hard work, there wouldn't be Selena y los Dinos. Now let's talk about the negatives. First thing first, immediately what I noticed is that the pacing was fast. Like, they were jumping scene to scene, and I felt like in between scenes in different situations that the band had to go through, they didn't really give the characters any time or even any screen time to react. Like, for example, when AB had his baby, they just jumped right to the scene where she was sitting down and they were just talking about her being pregnant, and I'm just like, whoa, where did this come from? Like, and it didn't even show like Abraham's reaction or the band's reaction to when they first found out that AB was pregnant. Another example would be Selena when she graduated. Like, she just came in and it was like, oh, I graduated, and everybody was just like, oh, good, now let's go back to eat. There were moments where I feel like the series was just, the pacing was moving so fast that moments where you think the band members would have a bigger reaction to something, they didn't. And also, I feel like if you're watching this as a person who isn't really aware of who Selena is or don't really know much about Selena, you'll be confused, because I'm a huge Selena fan and there were scenes where I was confused because it was just jumping from scene to scene so fast. Another thing that I noticed is that I understand that there is fiction within the series. Abraham mentioned that the story and the way they portray parts of the story is not the same as how it was done in real life, but the majority of it was fiction. I understand that Abraham likes to keep things clean and he likes to keep things professional. He doesn't really want to portray him or his family as anything bad or anything like that, which is understandable. But I just felt like the series, it was just a little bit too Disney, if you know what I mean. And I thought it was a rating. I was like, okay, maybe, you know, it is a PG film, too much yelling or chaos or anything like that. But it was like that in the Selena movie, and that was rated PG as well. So I felt like it was a lot of fiction, because the situation that happened in real life, it was much more dramatic. Like, what bothered me the most has to be the relationship with Selena and Chris. Almost every scene that came up with Selena and Chris was fiction. It didn't happen the way it did in real life. Their first kiss wasn't the way they kissed in the series. It wasn't the way they did in real life. The way they said I love you to each other wasn't the way they did it in real life. And the way they portrayed Chris, it made him kind of soft. Chris, he's very much to himself in real life, but whenever there is a time where he had to defend himself or he had to get serious, you know, he'd do that, and he knew how to stand his ground and he knew how to defend himself, you know what I mean? And another thing that bothered me with the relationship between Selena and Chris was that Chris was coming on to Selena like it was almost like he was being the chaser and he was chasing after Selena, when it was the other way around. You know, in the series, Selena, she was like, you know, we have to be professional. I'm trying to make a great impression off my father and not get you fired. But in real life, it was Chris who was like that. Chris was telling Selena, he was like, you know, we can't let anybody know about our relationship. We need to slow down. I really want to make a great impression off your father and not get us in trouble, not get me fired. Like, he really genuinely tried to like stay professional in the bands. Everything that Abraham worked for wouldn't be ruined. And Chris tried to respect that, but it was Selena who kept pushing it, like, no, Chris, like, I want to be with you. We have to be together. And even when they first kissed, like, they first kissed on Big Bertha, but it was Selena who was like teeter-tottering like towards him really slowly, and Chris was kind of like backing up, like, this is how he described it in his book. And you know, they ended up kissing. Like, she kissed him when they said I love you. It was in a Pizza Hut. In the series, he did it like really quick. He was like, damn. And she just looked back at him like, oh. It wasn't even like, they didn't even make it like this touchy moment. He literally just walked past her and said, I love you in Spanish. And she just looked back and smiled, and he just got on the bus. And that was that. Another thing that I didn't like with this series, this has been spoken a lot. I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of memes, but the wigs, honey. There was one scene with Chris. I did not pay attention. I had to rewind it a couple of times because I was not paying attention, because the wig was just not doing it for me. It was distracting. I don't understand why they didn't get better wigs. The wigs, they were most definitely a distraction. And one of my relatives, like, I remember she told me that she went on Facebook and they made a meme of Selena, and right next to it was Christian. And she's not interested in Selena. She's not really a big Selena fan, but she was like, what is up with their wigs? Like, why do their wigs look like that? And I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, the wig is most definitely a thing that a lot of people are having a problem with. Oh, and one last thing about the thing that I wish could have changed in the series was, I wish they picked 3 different generations of cast members. They only had 2 generations. Like, for example, in the series, they only had Selena y Los Dinos as children, and they only had cast members who were depicting Selena y Los Dinos as both teenagers and adults, when I feel like it would have been better if they had a different set of cast members for their teenage years, instead of having the same cast members as both teenagers and adults. Because while Selena was at school, you know, this is Christian, she's an adult and she's an older woman, but she was supposed to depict like a 13-year-old girl in that scene. During that time, you know, it wasn't hard to watch, but it would have been better if they had younger cast members playing them as teenagers. So that's how I feel about the series overall. So overall, I would say that I really did like the series. Like, it wasn't like a, oh my gosh, this is so good, but it also wasn't a, oh my gosh, this is terrible. It's like, like in the middle, you know what I mean? I enjoyed it. I really loved how comedic and goofy it was. I mentioned that before. It was very fun to watch. I find myself laughing at majority of the scenes. If you guys want me to, I will comment down the list of things that some people have released. Some of the fans have released some information about season 2, and I will put that in the comments just to let some of you guys know just what to look forward to in season 2, because what I'm hearing, I'm really getting excited about that. It wasn't okay. I felt like it was a little better than okay, but it wasn't like an oh my gosh kind of thing. So if I had to rate it, I would rate it like a 7 out of 10, because I think their acting was really good. I think they depicted their characters, you know, the way that, you know, Selena y Los Dinos would be. And a lot of people were upset, I said this before, that the cast members are getting a little bit more shine than Selena. And, you know, I can kind of feel for them, because the way that the series were advertised, it was like, you know, you're going to be watching a lot of Selena in season 1, but that wasn't the case. I felt like if they elaborated a little more in their trailers and in their teasers, that it would be more about Selena and about the other band members, then a lot more fans would be prepared for that and they would know exactly what they would be watching, but that wasn't the case. And also, I felt like it should have been a different title for season 1. And it's pretty simple, you know, Selena y los Dinos, the series. I felt like that would have been a better title for season 1, and then season 2 have it be Selena the series. And I felt like that would have been cool because in season 1 we see how Abraham signed a contract basically agreeing that the band name will be changed to Selena instead of Selena and Los Dinos, so having it transition from season 1 Selena y los Dinos the series, Selena the series in season 2. But yeah, that's how I feel overall. I felt like it was a great season. I most definitely watched it more than once. I think I'm on like my 3rd time watching this season. Let me know how you guys feel about the series. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you feel like there would be more improvements? Do you agree with my point of view? Let me know. All opinions are open. And that is all, you guys. Have a BIDI BOM day. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.